Candidates, please be ready for the passage. Mr. Chairman, Sir, I rise to support the resolution moved in the other house by my dear friend and the Honourable Minister of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj, who is also looking after the portfolio of Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation. The resolution moved by him touches each and every individual. It is true that without water we cannot survive. Water has been the source of our civilization and evolution. It is a matter of deep concern to us that in our country, water as a precious resource is being mined carelessly without any application of the mind. It has been a callous approach, if I may say so. Now, with a majority government at the helm of affairs in our country, we are considering this issue with all seriousness it deserves, giving it a new thrust. Our government will not spare any effort to reach safe drinking water to each and every household in our country, especially in the rural areas. For achieving this target, the ministry concerned has drafted a proposal for grant of some additional provision from the Finance Ministry. I'm sure the Finance Ministry will agree to the request made by the Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation and will give its concurrence to the proposal without any cuts. Sir, now I come to another mega scheme which the Honourable Prime Minister has announced last year. The Prime Minister has taken it as a challenge to accept, a promise to fulfill, and a commitment to deliver. And he has also specifically set a date, that is 2nd October 2019, for this milestone to be achieved. This scheme is to make rural India to be open defecation free, or in short ODF. Remarkable progress has been achieved, but there is still a very long way to go. In the northern rural India, at least half the toilets that are functioning are not used by all members of the household all the time. Often, the toilet is used sparingly. This is done intentionally to delay it from filling and, at the same time, to postpone all costs to be incurred in getting it emptied. The solution, widely favoured by rural people, is to construct a septic tank, a large sealed underground chamber. The larger the better, with costs of the tanks ranging from 20,000 rupees to 70,000 rupees. This is too expensive for many poor people in rural areas. However, construction of septic tanks deflects the attention from better and more sustainable solutions, which are also cheaper cost-wise in the long run. The masons working in the villages also recommend septic tanks because they can make more money from construction. The recommendations of the government is the much smaller and cheaper twin pit toilets. This has 2 leach pits so that one pit can be filled at a time. The common practice is to fill one pit, which may take an average family 5 to 8 years, cover it over when nearly full, and leave it to stand while the second pit is used. After about a year, the contents of the first pit have turned into harmless and valuable fertilizer. A family's waste turns from being a liability in a septic tank to a growing asset following the construction and usage of a twin pit toilet. It should not be seen as a liability, but as an investment. The more it is used, the quicker will be the return. The pit can be emptied safely and its contents used or sold. In this regard, some studies have been undertaken and they have found out that the people in general do not seem to know about or do not believe in the advantages of twin pits over septic tanks. We may be wrong, but information about twin pits does not seem to have been a major part of information, education, communication campaigns. People see twin pits as too small and too quick to fill. They use them sparingly. The studies undertaken have also shown the almost universal ignorance of rural people on these points. There was a major breakthrough a few weeks ago when the top bureaucrats at the center and in the states get a wonderful example by themselves getting down into pits, digging out fertilizer, and being watched handling it. They overcame the belief that it was polluting, finding the contents of the pit to be dry and totally lacking in smell. It was a rich quality fertilizer. They returned to the center and their respective states armed with the authority of personal experience and a small jar of that rich quality fertilizer to prove the point. I must admit that if this practice inspires the people at the grassroots level and drives the efforts in changing norms and practices prevalent in the rural areas, could become as revolutionary as the Industrial Revolution in Europe. As it is people-centric, it could meet to a large extent the gap between the cost of making fertilizers with all sorts of hazardous chemicals in the polluting factories and their harmful environmental impact. It could also reduce the burden of subsidy on fertilizers. This may become a win-win situation for one and all. It is sustainable as well as environment friendly. We have just to act upon it now with all sincerity and dedication. I appeal to all the honorable members of the Parliament and, through this august House, to the entire country to come and join in this enormous task of nation building. Can all the political and spiritual leaders now set an example? This is an opportunity. Rather, it is a duty cast upon us to provide a big thrust towards making our nation an ODF nation. Will you, my dear friends, rise to the challenge and show that the pits bring profit, not pollution? This is not a small issue, but a mammoth task. As we watch with hope and expectation, our urgent action could be decisive.